Hello Sharks, I'm Jonathan Little for PokerCoaching.com, and today we're going to be opening some packs of digital poker cards from Thetadrop. These are all fun moments from the World Poker Tour, and Thetadrop has, well, immortalized them on the blockchain. If you have been watching the previous videos I made, you know that I opened a legendary Antonio Esfandiari card. But you know what I did? I sold it. And then I used that money to buy two new legendary cards. One with Dale Negreanu and one here with Frank Stepuchin. Frank enjoys eating fried chicken legs or barbecue chicken legs or buffalo wings, whatever these are, at the poker table. And I particularly liked this clip because it features the best man for my wedding, Shannon Shore. And he is wearing a poker coaching patch. If you have not checked out my site, PokerCoaching.com, make sure you do that. Let's take a look at this very fun clip. By the way, I have not seen a lot of these hands that are displayed, so this is sort of a poker strategy video to some extent. So let's get to it. We will play this awesome moment. 8-5 offsuit. They are playing heads up for the title.
Shannon Shore with an 8-5. And he is going to step this up to 160. Frank with an ace-4 makes the call.
Funny enough, Frank's also wearing a poker coaching patch because he was related to one of my employees, funny enough, and he made the final table. I'm like, oh, let's patch Frank up too. So two players at this final table were wearing poker coaching patches. They got heads up. They play very different strategies, to say the least.
Go to a flop of 8-7-5, so two pair for Shannon.
Wow. Junk hand flops two pair. Frank checks.
Shannon looks so excited to have the 8-5 offsuit right now, doesn't he? Is Frank really going to win this hand? Come on.
Frank with an inside straight draw. Now Shannon's going to bet this 210.
Frank says, I have just enough to continue here with that gut shot and ace high. Makes this call.
Our commentators are Vince Van Patten, legendary WPT commentator, and newcomer Tony Dunst. He's been around poker for forever, relatively new to the commentary chair. He took over Mike Sexton's seat. Rest in peace. Make sure you check out Mike Sexton's book, by the way, Life's a Gamble. It's excellent. So those are our two commentators here. I like Shannon's bet. Frank can't really fold this ace-4. It's not like he's loving this spot, but if he gets a 6, he's really happy. If he gets an ace, he's happy enough.
I would love to hit this 6 right now, but an ace is, this could get him into trouble. He has aces now.
That it could, Vince, yeah, with his top pair. And Shannon only started this hand about 40 blinds deep, so...
Shannon's bet 650 with the 2 pair.
Frank's going to have a decision on this turn facing Shannon's bet. Do I want to call, or do I want to just try and put the money in case he's drawing?
He's no longer smiling. He's got a big decision to make.
That is actually a really tough spot here. I know that we cannot see how deep the players are. Tony Dunst helped us out here, 40 big blinds deep. When you are at this stack depth, if you are in Shannon's shoes, you have to be very careful to not bet high equity draws that have to fold if they get jammed on. Like on the turn, I'm not sure you're supposed to bet a hand like King, Queen of Spades that really doesn't want to bet and get shoved. Same thing with a hand like a random 6. You don't really want to bet that and get shoved. That said, he should be betting this ace turn pretty frequently because he has a lot of good ace highs in this scenario, you got to think, to raise pre-flop and then make a continuation bet. So should Frank just rip it in? I think he should not, because I think in this scenario he has a hand that can very easily check call turn and then check call river to induce as many bluffs as possible from low equity hands like Queen Jack or just like random Queen 3 suited type stuff. So I think the play here is to just call and give Shannon every opportunity to bluff the river. And the thing is, like, if Shannon has you beat, he literally never folds, right? Like, he's not folding ace-6, he's not folding ace-9, not folding ace-10. So whenever Shannon has you beat, he just literally always calls. So I think for that reason, Frank probably wants to call. If he had a better hand, like let's say ace-queen somehow, or 2 pair, then I would like raising / shoving, depending on exactly what the stacks are, way more, because then Shannon can actually call with some worse value hands, right? But in this scenario, I don't really think that's the case unless he has exactly like 8-6. But I'm not sure 8-6 wants to keep betting the turn for the reason I just mentioned, like 40 big blinds deep. You have to be careful betting draws like that.
All in.
He's going to shove it all in.
He shoves, though. Shannon obviously calls.
Pretty much of an insta-call, you would think.
All right, I call.
And he's going to do this, and he's well out in front.
Good shit.
Shannon just wanted to recheck his cards. He's like, I have 2 pair, right? Yeah, I call.
We got to fade in.
He's in good shape. Good shape, though, only means 73%. A fourth of the time, Shannon is long gone out.
Ace 4 or 6. Shannon, come over here. Come over here.
Pretty solid favorite to double up.
Good luck, my friend. We're like even if you win this one. It's something like that, right? I'm not even sure. I think we're like even.
Shannon wins at 5.1, so it would be even. And Shannon's a big favorite to make that happen.
Frank, looking for a 6, a 7, or an ace, or a 4. Oh, it's a 4! Oh, Frank has done it! I can't believe it! Frank's temperature!
Look at gentleman Shannon Shore. He gives Frank a hug after losing. He's probably kind of annoyed inside.
Recreational player has taken down the Guardians 10K! Oh my goodness, Shannon Shore is your second place finisher! Frank will take accomplishes the impossible!
We are standing here with a great champion, Frank Stephenson!
Frank Dante! Frank Dante! Frank Dante! Frank Dante!
See that championship belt? It's pretty sweet, huh? All right. That was a good one to trade into, huh? What a fun hand. All right, we are going to be going through some of these packs that Thetadrop was kind enough to give me to open with all of you here. So, there's actually a secondary market to these cards now where you can essentially trade them, right? Or sell them for T-Fuel, which is like the currency for the site, or US dollars. However, the base pack cards, if you want to talk about finances here a bit, we're trading on the secondary market for about $5 per card, give or take. Remember, I have all those David Baker cards? They're worth about $5 a piece. But these packs actually cost about $50 retail, which is not good for people who buy the packs, right? Therefore, Thetadrop adjusted, they did good work, and they added hologram cards, which are now essentially rarer versions of the base level cards. All-in packs, I think, stayed the same. Also, the legendary pack stayed the same as well. Let's take a look at a base pack. Which one should we open? Do we think they're all the same or are they all different? Let's do this one. 60% chance for a holo card. All right. Let's see what we have. Open up the pack. Notice there are 1,675 packs. These are all sold out, but if you go to Thetadrop.com, you can make sure to be on the list to get yours next time. Sell this pack? No. Open it. All right. We have 5 NFTs. Let's take a look at what we have. Ole Schemion. Oh, my goodness. Let's take a look at this hand. Ole is I like Ole a lot. I think it's his big eyes. I like his big eyes. He seems like a very nice guy. I haven't really talked to him much. We played a few times. He usually gets the best of me. One of the absolute best players. I think he's from Germany, maybe somewhere else in that region. Let's take a look at this moment.
Now, Ole Schemion, who has to be feeling a little depressed, had so many chips in the beginning. Now he's down to the short stack.
I've seen Ola play several times from behind, and he is able to get back to a place where he can find himself on top.
I actually took, I think, 8th place in this tournament. This is the Tournament of Champions, so that was fun. I actually played this big hand on the Stone Bubble. I think they paid like, I don't know, 12 places or something, where I had kings. He raised early position. I just called big blind, and we were the 2 deep stacks, and he tripled it off when the board went off like a 4 straight 3 flush board, and I folded. I was so annoyed. Should have just re-raised and got it all in on the bubble. But I remember Dietrich fast bubbled shortly after it, so that was good. We got in the money at a medium stack, and then I lost some sort of flip to Tony Dunst. Funny enough, I played 2 big hands deep in tournaments with Tony Dunst, 2 big flips roughly. That summer. One was in another, I don't know, $5,000 buy-in tournament, something like that. And Tony beat me both times. And I remember he took 2 seconds, funny enough. I took like 2 kind of in the money cashes. He took 2 seconds. All right, let's take a look at this hand. Ole raises it up, 7-6 suited, perfectly fine. Again, I wish we had stack depths here. Hopefully they can fix that in the future, because clearly that's very relevant.
Ryan with a huge ace-king of clubs, and he is not going to disguise that. He's gone over the top.
And when you're as unpredictable as Ryan has been, you will get action even when you have big hands, because players just don't give you that much credit anymore. And 7-6 of spades in position is not a bad hand to continue with.
If Ole's hand was a little bit weaker, like 8-6 suited, I think folding becomes very reasonable, but 7-6 I think is just good enough to call. And I don't really know much about Ryan, but if he is 3-betting a lot, then you really shouldn't be looking to fold these hands.
He will take a shot, hope to get lucky. The flop is a jack 4-3. Ryan's going to check it.
Look at that facial.
A 5 would...
Look, I don't really read too much into physical tells amongst very high stakes players, but that was a really depressed look. Let's just rewind here. I want to look at this real quick. Watch his face on this flop.
He will take a shot, hope to get lucky. The flop is a jack 4-3. Ryan's going to check it.
A 5 would give Ola a straight, and he has some backdoor spade possibilities as well.
That might be a bit of a tell there, huh?
Betting 65,000 is not a bad play.
Ryan is going to call it.
I like the small bet here. You get some folds, but perhaps more importantly, you set up a lot of triple barrels by the river. Let's see if he gets the opportunity.
8 on the turn. Ryan's going to check.
Again, I'm not exactly sure of stack depths here, but remember how I discussed earlier that you really don't want to be betting hands that have to fold to a shove. This is a good example of that type of hand, because if it goes check on the turn, you can obviously bluff on the river when you have nothing. But you really don't want to get check raised out of your seat here. So if they're playing, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 big blinds deep, you have to be a little bit cautious betting this hand, because betting and getting raised is terrible. And if Ryan is a good player, which I presume he is going to be looking to check raise turn sometimes. And that would make Ole have to fold this hand, which would be an absolute disaster. That said, if you think your opponent is just like betting all of their jacks and better on the flop, then they're almost never going to check raise you on the turn, because they don't have any good hands to begin with, right? So if they don't have any good hands to begin with, then betting becomes way more easy, right? And this really does highlight the value of mixing up your play to some extent, especially when you're out of position, because you want to make sure you do have some overpair, some sets, some jacks that can go for the check raise all in on the turn if we are playing 30, 40, 50 big blinds deep.
All in.
And Ola's going to just shove it, put it all in here.
Let's look at stack depth. So notice Ole jams 500 into 400. I think that's fine. Perhaps he should have bet just like a little bit bigger on the turn, although maybe he thinks that going for this small size on the flop is going to get called by a lot of stuff, and the shove's going to get a lot of folds on the turn. But I like this line. I mean, sure. Like if... I mean, this actually highlights what I was just saying, right? If he bets small here, say he bet 100K out of his 500, as a lot of people would have done. If he gets shoved on, he has to put in 400 to win, what, 1.4 million? So he needs to win, what, 30-ish% of the time? Is he going to win 30% of the time with this hand? He has a gut shot and a flush draw. So that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 outs. He's going to win like 26-ish% of the time, assuming his pairs are never good, which is slightly worse than his pot odds, right? So here, if Ole bets 100K and gets shoved on, it is an absolute disaster. Ole realizes this, so he takes the other option, which is to just rip it in. And I like this. The question is does he actually do this with any made hands? I know some players, perhaps myself included, will instead, well, they'll only do this or primarily do this with just very high equity bluffs, like this type of hand. If you are playing against someone who does this type of play with only or mostly high equity bluffs, then even hands like ace-king become pretty easy calls. I wonder if Ryan's going to call here. I don't think Ryan can call here, especially if Ole does just make this play with stuff like a jack, which I think is certainly reasonable enough. Very, very range dependent in this scenario. What you do with the ace-king.
All in.
And Ola's going to just shove it, put it all in here.
Ryan's probably thinking exactly what I'm thinking right here. Like, is this very
Be the
bluffing?
worst call ever.
But I'm going to do it.
Wow.
Wow. This would be the worst call, but...
So, funny enough, he gave off that tell of quote-unquote weakness. I don't know if that was actual weakness. You got to think you're not really trying to induce loads of bluff with the ace high. But, somehow, he's right. Ryan just got it in amazingly good. Well, see, amazingly good. He got it all in with 60% equity. The problem with calling with non-pairs is that when your opponent is bluffing with a draw, they still have very good equity. Like it's 60-40, which is pretty good.
Excellent call by Ryan. He's in front.
I'm a PLO player. I can't lose my share of the pot.
Big chance for Ryan to knock out Ola. So he needs a spade or a 5.
Or a 7 or a 6, Vince, because that's how light Ryan's called him.
And here we go with the river card. It's a spade. So Ola has hit the flush. He gets lucky and he will double up.
Playing great, getting a double up. Good job, good work, Ole. All right, let's take a look at another NFT. Are we going to get a holo in this pack? 60%. We probably just dipped down to like 55 or something. 52 or something for all the math people out there. Who knows how it actually works. Let's take a look at what we have. Please be David Baker. We had multiple David Baker cards last time for those who did not watch. You can go back and watch the previous openings, which are similar enough to this. You can just search Thetadrop Jonathan Little on YouTube. I'm sure it'll come right up. Is this the literal same card? This is the literal same card. So, something they do here is that you will sometimes get the literal same card. However, notice this is number 76 out of 1,000. This is number 587 out of 1,000. Is the same name, right? Variance, am I right? Variance is wild. Essentially, they have a bunch of cards. I don't know how many there are. Let's say 50, and there's 1,000 of each of them. Sometimes you get an Ole and an Ole. That's okay, though, because I like Ole. I have a little crush on him. Ole again. Give it to me. Frank Stapuchin milking the cow. Who knows what's going to happen in this hand?
Frank with the ace-6 suited, first to act. He will eventually raise.
Now Shannon with an 8-6.
Definitely going to make the call out of the big blind here. Frank wants to play doctor.
Not right now.
Let me get a
Frank did this thing at the final table where he wanted to like hold your hand during the hand or feel your pulse. Shan says, not right now, Frank. Not right now. It's bad timing. Kind of confused about positions here because clearly Shannon's on his direct right, which means I guess they edited this a little bit. I think Frank must have opened button or something like that or cut off because there are other people at the other end of the table.
little read on that Paul Shannon. Interesting flop though, 9-5-4.
Is this milking the
that
cow?
would give
Is that what this
Shannon a
solution
gut
is?
shot to the 7. Frank has the best hand.
I love a check raise from Uncle Shannon here.
Now I think that should Frank bet
faces
here,
small
especially
now.
if he bets small, Shannon will continue.
Frank has bet 95,000, and now he's doing something strange with his hands, like he's milking a cow or something.
Man.
260.
Good play by Uncle Shannon.
Feel that.
And there's Shannon with the check raise up to 260, so I love this play from Shannon.
Good poker.
Call.
A lot of turns are good for me, and so Frank is going to make this call.
Some people may think this call is overly wide, and to be fair, you don't really want to have a 6 here, I don't think, because the obvious draws / bluffs are 8-7, 7-6, and 8-6, right? So you don't really want to block those. That said, like having the backdoor straight draw is fine. Also, whenever you're facing a small check raise here, notice Frank has to put in 165 to win a pot that's going to be, well, I guess we're about to see what it is, but like 700, right? Or 800. So he really only needs like 20% equity to continue. And even with this junky ace high, assuming your opponent is a good, strong, aggressive player who will check raise some bluffs, like this hand, 8-6, then you can't just go around folding ace high with backdoor draws. You may say, but if you're calling this and you're just folding it every time you miss on the turn, is that good? And the answer is yes, because you're also calling here with all of your good hands, right? And from a game theory optimal point of view, you want to be calling with, you know, some portion of your range on every betting round, but also folding some portion of your range on every betting round, usually, depending on the exact run out in your range. But if you're folding out something like 20-25% of your range on each betting round, that is fine because you're inducing your opponent to bluff reasonably, and it's going to work out well from a mathematical point of view. We discussed this thoroughly in my tournament masterclass at pokercoaching.com. Check it out, pokercoaching.com/premium. And it's okay to call here and then fold, because realize if he calls in a spot with ace-6 of diamonds, he also calls ace-6 of spades and clubs, Sometimes he picks up a flush draw, sometimes he picks up a pair, sometimes he picks up straight draw, and he's going to continue the turn when that happens. Then when he just gets nothing on the turn, he folds it out. It's okay, because he also has sets, over pairs, two pairs, etc. that are clearly never folding. That essentially puts Shannon in sort of a guessing game where he doesn't know if he should keep bluffing the turn or not. What a lot of people do wrong in this spot, especially in small stakes games, in Frank's shoes, is they only continue with good pairs and better. Like some people fold out a 4 here, which is just an absolute disaster. You can't go around folding out a 4 in this scenario, or any pair, whenever you're facing a small check raise. But a lot of people do, and that lets aggressive players, like Shannon, completely run them over.
Wants to see what the turn brings. Wow, what a turn.
4 flush now for Frank, and a straight draw.
Second pair for Shannon, so he's going to check now with showdown value.
Straight from the tournament masterclass at pokercoaching.com. Marginal made hands on the turn are very often the absolute best hands to check. So very clearly a very solid marginal made hand at this point. If you face a bet and get called, you can if you face a bet and call, you can easily stick around. If you bet and get raised, it's terrible. If you bet and get called, it's marginal, right? So what you want to do in this scenario is check and give your opponent every opportunity to bluff with whatever nonsense they have. And also, like, force them to stay in the pot with some of the hands that are in relatively bad shape, like a random 5, right?
And he only has about a pot-sized bet left.
I like the shove here from Frank for a pot-sized bet. I mean, this is exactly what I just said, right? Shannon, by checking, induces bluffs. Now, look, I don't know if Shannon calls or folds here, actually. I would call it off because I know Frank gets after it. Frank did this weird cow milking maneuver, and when people do really weird stuff, that often results in me being a little bit tight, a little bit cautious. I don't really see how Shannon can possibly fold this hand, though, because he has a gut shot, right? With a gut shot and a pair, with some draws available, I think it's just a call. It sucks whenever he has the nuts. He is going to have the nuts sometimes, because obviously 7-6 is in his range. You block that, though. I don't know, I'd call. Especially once you check. Like, when you check, you've induced bluffs, so... Assuming Frank's going to call the flop, small flop check raise with a lot of random diamonds and a lot of hands like Jack 10, Queen Jack, Queen 10, and he's going to try to bluff them on the turn, which I think is pretty good. You can't really fold this hand.
And there he goes. Frank puts Shannon all in, so a really well-played hand from Frank here. And a difficult choice for Shannon. This is tough. And you know that...
I will say also, Frank does a lot of weird stuff at the table. So, if someone does something weird, like this motion, at the table, and it basically never happens, I'd probably knit it up until I have a better read. If they do weird stuff all the time, like eat a fried chicken leg, try to hold your hand, give you a hug at the table, do the milking motion all the time, eventually you just stop worrying about that stuff until you've had plenty of time to observe footage of that player, like right here on Thetadrop.com, to correlate it to a particular type of hand strength, like either really strong, really weak, draw, etc. Let's see what else Frank's about to do.
Frank could easily have a 9 or an overpair here.
Have a beer.
Could have the sets.
No,
lay it down.
You want to see?
Let's see it.
Great play by Frank. He just slams it over in Shannon's face. I love it.
Well, you got to give him a fist bump for that, but Shannon, it's a bad spot. I get it, but if he's ever bluffing, which, look, Frank gets after it. If he's ever bluffing, you got to find a call there. All right, let's take a look at another hand. Ryan, again, tough call, tougher flop. All right, let's take a look.
Simon now with 5s. He'll make it 17 to go, but Nick Schulman wakes up with ace-jack behind him.
Nick is just going to call,
I'm gonna just put all my money in there.
but that actually opens it up for Ryan to...
What are the stack depths here? Raise to 17, call, jam for 300. So I'm presuming Ryan and Nick are both a little bit shallower stacked.
Gonna call,
I'm gonna just put all my money in there.
but that actually opens it up for Ryan to put both players at risk.
All right, so there you see, it's actually only 192. So it went min raise, call, shove for 22 big blinds. Maybe slightly more, like maybe it's 30 or something like that for the initial raiser. This is a tough spot. I mean, previously, other commentator, Maria Ho, whenever Tony Dunst is playing at the table apparently, said that Ryan had been very loose, very aggressive, very splashy. If that's actually the case, then I think it's certainly reasonable to call with ace-jack. You'll find that some players, I'm not saying this is Ryan, but some players will only or mostly jam here with small pairs, which you're flipping against plus pot odds, and weak offsuit and or suited aces, like ace-10, ace-9, ace-8, ace-5 suited. If that's the range, you are either flipping or dominating your opponent, in which case, no-brainer, easy call for ace-jack, even with payout implications. If your opponent is going to be jamming perhaps stuff like ace-king, ace-queen, which you probably should, then you have to be way more cautious calling with ace-jack, because then you're going to be dominated sometimes. You don't really want to be getting it in with roughly 50-ish% equity, even with a little bit of dead money in the pot at the final table, because there's value in just staying in the tournament and moving up the payout ladder. But assuming what Maria said previously is correct, that Ryan's getting in there, blasting it, I don't hate a call here with the ace-jack. I think ace-10 is probably a fold. The thing is, a lot of players will 3-bet small with ace-king and ace-queen and then shove ace-jack, ace-10, ace-9, ace-8 type hands. And if that's the case, Nick dominates the shoving range, but we wouldn't be in good shape against a small 3-bet range, but that's not what happened, right? I think king-queen shove's good, too, especially as a big stack.
You're just gonna do it, huh?
Simon lays down the 5s, and now Schulman has a dilemma here with his ace-jack.
And for Nick, the problem is he just has to consider what type of hands he thinks Ryan is willing to get all in with. And for Nick, he did kind of play his hand in a way where it underrepresents that strength of ace-jack, but also given what Tossic's reputation is, I do think that Nick will end up calling it off here.
And he's going to like himself in the morning. He's a favorite here. Going in with the best right now. They turn up the cards. Ace-jack for Nick Schulman. Ryan with a king-queen.
Fair flip, pretty much.
It's a good PLO hand.
62-37.
Flop always comes jack 10-9 though.
6, 7, 8 of diamonds.
And it is a queen-7 deuce. Ryan outflops Nick, hits the queens.
It's always good.
Flop there.
Blocker.
Nick now needing a lot of help.
It's down to 20% to hit that overcard or potentially a backdoor flush draw.
Deuce pairs the board.
Doesn't feel too good.
And now he is a big long shot.
Nick needs an ace on the
He's
river.
ready to leave.
He's ready to go home, it looks like.
It's not going to be an ace, it's a 10 of diamonds.
What can
I leave about that fast whenever I lose a tournament, too. So some people look at this spot, pre-flop. Let's go back to pre-flop. And they think, in this scenario, I don't really want to flip for my whole tournament, right? But if you fold here, what ends up happening is you just end up kind of blinding out. Folding in this scenario is going to result in you taking a whole lot of, like top 5% finishes in the field, but almost never winning or making a very deep run. And you got to realize, let's say I bust in 30th place a lot or I win the tournament. Let's say you take 15th place every time. Our average finish is both 15th place, right? Something like that, give or take. But I'm going to make way more money because I'm going to take first place, and first place in tournaments pays way more than a bunch of 15th places. To be fair, in WPT tournaments over the last few years, I've actually taken a bunch of 8th, 9th, 10th place finishes, making plays or finding myself in spots similar to what Nick's in right here and then just losing the hand. And while it is annoying when this happens, I know you don't want to be deep in the tournament flipping. That's how you get a hold of chips. You're not going to find significantly better spots, especially if your opponent is loose, aggressive, and shoving a ton like apparently they say Ryan is. So you just got to call. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. But if you fold, you're way more certain to lose. So I like that play there by Nick. To be fair, again, I don't know exact stack depths. I think he had 22 big blinds, though. Against the initial raise, it may be better to just rip it all in with the ace-jack offsuit. That could be better than calling and then calling it off. Because what would have happened is initial raiser would have raised. He would have shoved the ace-jack. King-queen would have folded. We never even have to take the flip. Pocket fives would have folded, and Nick wins a small pot without having to fade any cards on the flop, right? Let's take a look at another card. Ole again. Oh, they're really making good use of Ole here. I'm telling you, everybody has a crush on him. Broken Hearts. Oh, all right.
Now Ryan on this hand looks down at a queen-7 of hearts. Just going to call it. And Ola with a king-deuce of hearts. Let's go flopping.
Small blind, big blind, I think.
Flop is a 6-5-3, 2 hearts.
Big flop for both players. Ola has the second nut flush draw, but Ryan has...
All right, we have a button raise from Ole and a big blind call here. Okay, so it must have gone check, bet, 40. Bet small and frequently sure. Maybe you check here some portion of the time, not with king 2 of hearts. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where with that 40-ish big blind stack or 25 big blind stack, something like that, you have to be careful to not bet and then have to fold to a jam. But whenever you have king 2 of hearts here, you're just never folding. Anytime you have a pair and a additional draw, like good over cards, gut shot, straight draw, whatever, usually you're not folding that hand to a shove, especially when you can beat some worse draws. And king 2 of hearts right here crushes the 8-7 offsuit type hands, right? So you can bet this no problem.
A gut shot straight draw and a flush draw, so it's got to look pretty good to him.
I'm all in.
This is a huge...
40 to 500. I like it. Seems fine, right? Whenever your opponent bets small, it's usually fine to make bigger shoves than you may think you can. What a lot of people do wrong in this scenario is they just always raise to 3 times their opponent's bet, which would be to 120. But notice if Ryan makes it 120 and then gets jammed on for 500, now he's in that scenario where he has like a roughly break-even call, which you want to avoid, right? So... especially when your opponent bets small, that usually indicates they're betting somewhat frequently. And if they're betting somewhat frequently, they're going to have a whole lot of nonsense garbage hands like queen jack, queen 10, king queen. That's going to fold to a shove, right? So in this scenario, you definitely want to be shoving with a reasonably strong polarized range of your best hands and your best draws. And I think queen 7, you know, over cards, gut shot, etc. is definitely one of the best draws. Now, he's pretty unlucky to be against this exact hand, king 2 suited, but such is life. Funny enough, I actually played a similar hand in the US Poker Open, also at Aria, where this tournament took place, just recently, where on the bubble of a $50,000 buy-in tournament, loose aggressive player raise, I defended big blind with ace-6 suited for like 20-something big blinds. Flop comes 4-3-2, 2 clubs. I have ace-6 of clubs. I checked, he bet, I ripped it all in, kind of like Ryan just did here, and my opponent immediately called me, and I think, oh, I guess I got to improve. But he actually had king-queen of clubs, and I held with the ace-high. Let's take a look at what happens here.
So it's got to look pretty good to him.
I'm all in.
This is a huge all-in. It really puts Ola in a tough spot because he's got to think to himself, what type of hands would Ryan just make this massive overbet shove with?
I'll tell you. Premium hands, like 2 pairs, good top pairs, 8-6, pairs with top pairs with equity, 7-6, 6-4, 5-4, stuff like that. And flush draws, right? Also, however, a lot of flush draws are going to re-raise pre-flop, right? Like ace, king, ace, queen, ace, jack, ace, 10 of hearts, just all re-raise pre-flop. He could have 8-7 easily. I don't think he would do this with like 9-7 of diamonds, but maybe he does, right? So this is a spot where Ole actually does beat a lot of the draws because Ryan's range does not contain a lot of the ace-high flush draws, right? So for that reason, it's going to be a lot of worse draws and made hands. But notice against like 6-4, you actually have pretty good equity. I don't know what it would be, but you know he has a solid 40-ish %, 38%, 36%, whatever it is. And this is a spot where usually you actually have the best hand with this king high because your opponent lacks the ace high flush draw. And even when you are behind, you still have very good equity.
It looks like a draw.
Maria says something here that this big shove looks like a draw. I actually alluded to that just a second ago where Ole made the overbet shove on the turn, and I said this could be very draw heavy for a lot of people. As you get shallower and shallower, I think that's less and less true. And right here, stacks are relatively shallow to the point that I would not be the least bit surprised if Ryan just has top pair, middle pair with additional equity, etc. Also, I presume Ryan's good, right? And if he's good, he's going to be somewhat balanced. If you ever find yourself in a spot where your range is only draws, then you're not playing well. Unless you're trying to exploit your opponent in some way. You just gotta call it.
Wow, and Ola's gonna make this call against him.
Ola feels pretty good about his king high flush draw.
Got this. I got this.
Madness.
He announces, I win. Good game.
And let's take a look at the heart. Appears no 9-9 here, so
Ryan now has a double gut shot though, so he is looking for an 8, a 4, a queen, or a 7. That's not a heart.
otherwise he is gone. He'll be our third place finisher. Here comes the last card. It's a jack of spades.
Ryan 2-6. Tosic is out in third place. He played a heck of a game. It was just one big roller coaster for him today.
I'm going to look up what place I took in that tournament. I'm curious. All right. We're done. Let's go back to our packs. Let's see. This was a $15,000 round. I took 9th place in that tournament. Could you imagine if I just laddered up a few spots, I would have been able to be at that final table in this drop for you. With any luck, WPT is going to put me in a drop in the future. Ooh, I would love that. Maybe you all would love that too. All right, so that was a base pack. Let's take a look at an all-in pack. We'll see what we get. We get a rare card here. Let's take a look. Give us some good cards, please. 6 cards here. I presume 5 commons and a rare. Number 1. Ole again! I'm not going to complain. I like Ole. I'll take as many Ole cards as you want to give me. Ole again! They are making good use of this guy, huh? All right, this is a different card. So he apparently has 3 moments in this pack. That's pretty sweet. Let's take a look. Man, I wish a final table was turned. What a bummer. How much money did they give me for 9th place? $37,000.
And we go back down to the table. Ryan with ace-king, Ola with ace-9. Simon in with queen-jack as well. 3-way action.
Oh, excuse me, what? Just call? I was busy thinking about how Ole crushed me on the bubble. Okay. Let's rewind this. Why does ace-king not re-raise? Ole raises. Ryan calls.
And we go back down to the table.
The button. I mean, I would like literally never do this. Ace-king offsuit's a hand that really likes to 3-bet in basically every scenario. It looks like Ryan has a bunch of chips. Maybe Ole is also the chip leader. If that's the case, these are the 2 big stacks. And there's like some really shallow stacks there. There's probably a little bit of merit in calling, but like literally always 3-betting. The nice thing is about if you do have a loose, aggressive, battling image is that you're going to get full value when you have the nuts because your opponents are going to put it in way lighter than they normally would, right? So if you are loose, aggressive, splashy, you don't want to do much slow playing at all because your opponents are going to pay you off. Now, like I said, if they're both relatively deep, especially if Ryan is a clear middle stack with a few shallow stacks, then calling becomes reasonable because you really don't want to get it all in with shallow stacks at the table. Like if he jams here and gets called by 10s, it's just a disaster. Or if he 3-bets and gets shoved on and has to call it off, it's a disaster. Because even if he is 58% to win on average, you don't want to take that flip with a bunch of short stacks there. Whatever, he calls, fine.
Table. Ryan with ace-king, Ola with ace-9. Simon in with queen-jack as well.
Notice Simon does have relatively few chips, so perhaps that's what's going on in this hand.
Simon in with queen-jack as well. 3-way action. Flop is
It looked like Ole was relatively shallow too, though, so I would just always 3-bet.
an ace-9-4. Aces and 9s for Ola. Big aces for Ryan with the king kicker.
Ola massively out-flopping Ryan, but Ryan...
In this scenario, always bet your best hands, pretty much, especially when the board's kind of draw heavy, especially when your opponent could easily have a good hand. Notice both players could easily have an ace, they could easily have spade draws, they could easily have a 9, so just bet. Even when you have blocked the ace-9, just bet. Usually a small bet, though.
Ryan did just call pre-flop, so the strength of his hand is disguised. You see that the 2 chip leaders don't want to get into a huge pot, and that's a big reason why Ryan decided to just flat pre-flop.
So that's all correct. Maria nails it there. Given they were first and second in chips or whatever it was, they don't... Well, Ryan does not want to be all in for that reason like we discussed. On the flop, facing a bet in position, you don't actually want to do a ton of raising. That said, in multi-way pots, raising does gain a little bit of merit because you don't really want to let the big blind see the turn card for free/cheap. It was only 40K into a 90K pot, right? So if you call, now the big blind has to put in 40 to win, what, I can't even count that high, 230 or something like that. Good odds, the big blind is going to call with all sorts of stuff and you'd rather make them fold. That said, I would probably just call as well given the payout implications. You may say, why not just raise and get it all in against ace-queen, ace-jack, ace-10, etc. Because those hands are going to put in a lot of money anyway. And if Ole is bluffing with some nonsense like jack-10, you really want to keep him in.
The 4 pairs the board. Ryan's got to think he's even stronger.
Yeah, this board looks so dry, really clean for a hand like ace-king.
If Ole is the chip leader here, he should like literally never slow play. Literally never. Because he wants to act as if he is running a lot of bluffs, which is going to result in him just getting fully paid off with this ace-9 whenever he happens to be against another ace. If he's not the chip leader, though, like say they started a hand, I don't know, 50 big blinds deep and 45 big blinds deep or 40 big blinds deep, then I think there becomes a little bit more merit to checking to inducing bluffs, because then Ryan should be very inclined to float the flop with a lot of hands like Jack 10 of clubs, and then on this turn he's going to feel very inclined to bluff it, which Ole knows he's just not folding against. So this is a spot where I think Ole's play varies a pretty good amount based on whether or not he is first in chips or second in chips, and also based on how deep they are, right?
Ole's gonna bet it 77. And Ryan just gonna call it. And the river card is a nothing deuce, just great for...
You may say, what if Ole is against a 4? Then he loses. It's okay. Sometimes you're gonna lose, it's okay.
Ole.
Easy spot for a pretty big bet here. Ole should be very polarized here, like probably, I don't know, ace queen or better. Maybe ace jack or better. And he has a bunch of busted spade draws, so I like a very big bet.
With his aces and nines.
Pots 309, 250, 280, 300.
And he's gonna stick out a big bet, 215.
Okay.
Ryan underrepresented the strength of his hand from the beginning, just calling pre-flop, and the flush draw missed. I really don't see any possible way that he could get away from this.
I can guarantee he's not thinking about should I get away from this. He's thinking about should I put in a value raise right here. Whenever all the draws miss, and you have a hand that is almost certainly good, because at this point, ace king is almost certainly good. I mean, what does he lose to? He loses to ace 9, pocket 9s, pocket aces, which he blocks, ace 4, which he blocks, pocket 4s, which is very unlikely, lucky pocket 2s, like almost no hands, right? This is a spot where I can guarantee you Ryan is not thinking about folding. Ryan's thinking about, do I hero call? I bet if Ole bets smaller on the river, not that he should do that, but if he did bet smaller, like 80K, this ace king should very likely put in a raise, assuming Ryan is the big stack. If Ryan's the second stack, though, he should be a lot more cautious. Playing with big payout implications is tough because you really, really, really don't want to go broke.
You know Ola's going to put a lot of pressure on you, especially if he feels like you have a hand like a weak ace. And Ola would even value bet ace queen here and possibly ace jack. So for Ryan to possibly get away from this is too sick for me.
No way.
He is going to lay this down beautifully.
What? What? Oh my God, I'm just going to be triple barreling people out of their seat. What? You beat every busted flush draw. You beat basically every ace. Maybe he has a sick read, right? Look, I don't have sick reads on my opponents very often. Every once in a while you get a read, but even then I don't really trust myself to think it is foolproof. I can't fathom that fold. Like, I can fathom a lot of folds. I can't fathom that fold. That's insane. Especially for 2/3 pot bet, because like Maria said, he could easily be betting ace, queen, ace, jack, etc. So, busted spade draws, random nonsense like jack 10. Ryan, if you're watching this, let us know in the comment section why in the world you folded the ace king here for a 2/3 pot bet. If you bet like 500K, I could like maybe see folding, but you have to be right like almost never. David Farah, let's take a look at this hand.
Brandon now with the ace 9, going up to 1-3.
Yeah, David Farah now with a quality queen jack of diamonds.
How much is it?
He's a former furniture store owner who said, you know what, honey, his wife, let's give it up. I'm going to quit. I want to spend more time with you, and I want to play a lot of poker.
Sweet life.
And look at this. He's caught the flop. Flush on the flop. Whoa.
Typically on monotone boards, you want to check back at a high frequency. So while Brandon has a good hand to bet here, I'd actually like to see him check, and that's not just because I'm staring at David's flush.
I agree with this a lot because while the ace is often good, sometimes it's just not, and sometimes you're just dead, right? Also, betting and getting raised is really, 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 really bad. Turns out at final tables, you do generally want to be a little bit cautious when it comes to betting your like marginal made hands. Like, I mean, look, ace 9 is not a marginal made hand. It's like pretty close to a premium made hand. But you, in any spot where you really would hate to get raised, you have to be very, very cautious when it comes to betting in spots where there are big payout implications. Usually, when there are big payout implications, you either want to be applying a lot of aggression to the clear medium stacks who should fold to your big stack aggression, or you just want to be trying to see cheap showdowns when you don't have a big edge. And with ace 9, if you do face aggression, you usually don't have a big edge.
Brandon catching aces. He's up against the flush. This could get very interesting quick.
3x raise with only 1, 2, 3, 4 stacks behind, I think. So we're getting pretty shallow. You're probably supposed to just like min raise here, if I had to guess. If you are going to raise, you're probably really supposed to just call this hand because you pretty much have the nuts. You may say, aren't you worried about the king of diamonds? No. I mean, he could have it, but like whatever. If it comes another diamond, he's going to feel inclined to bluff sometimes, maybe even value bet at 10. So, and when it doesn't come another diamond, he's just going to keep value betting a lot of the time with ace, king, ace, queen, ace, jack type stuff. So you don't need to go so big here because you're really not all that concerned with getting outdrawn.
It's been raised now.
Tough spot for this ace 9, right? I mean, this is exactly what I was saying. Can't really fold with the diamond, I don't think. Typically in this spot, I think the queen jack of diamonds should call, but I do think lower diamonds should raise, like say he has 7-4 diamonds. Seems like a reasonable spot to raise there because then you have to worry about all the higher diamonds, like, well, this ace 9 of diamonds, ace 9 with the 9 of diamonds, right? Whereas with the queen jack, you just don't. So I think you're probably going to want to be raising in David's shoes with a lot of weaker flushes, but not so many of the king high and queen high flushes.
Dave Farah making it $3 million.
Make the call. And this speaks to the awkwardness of betting the flop. You have a huge hand, you bet the flop, you get raised, and you're sick to your stomach, and oh my, what a horrible turn card for Brandon. I mean, maybe he could get away if David just shoves the turn on a brick, but on this card, no chance. And David very slyly
checked when he had 2/3 pot left. I'm shocked he just didn't shove here because no one with an ace folds. And if you're against the king of diamonds, you may actually get that to fold now, which wouldn't be the end of the world. And if he has a flush, he's always going to call. And is he really going to bluff with some nonsense here? I think that'd be ridiculous. I think this is a spot where when you check raise 3x on the flop, Brandon's range has to be pretty good. Mainly good diamonds, which you block with the queen and the jack, right? Or an ace. And if he has any of those hands, like king of diamonds blank, he's going to be in a bad spot, which is fine. And if he has an ace, he's obviously not folding. I say obviously not folding. In my mind, no one's folding an ace here. We just watch someone fold top pair, top kicker, so I could be wrong about that. You give me an ace here, I'm literally never folding. So I think this is a spot where you just need to shove because there should not be much garbage in Brandon's range at this point that would even feel inclined to bluff. I mean, he can't even have any garbage.
checks it over to Brandon and lays a trap.
Obviously call here.
What's
he thinks the ace was bad for him. No, the ace is not bad for you. The ace is fine and good. It's going to result in you getting paid every time. This is one of these spots in tournaments where some like abhorrently tight players fold, but no, you cannot fold here. This is basically the nuts.
What's Dave doing? This is what you wanted.
Some players, I'm not saying this is what Dave does, but some players do this hemming and hawing and they just like literally always call. And they're essentially like bemoaning their bad luck for the off chance that they're beat. Or they want to be able to sit here and tank and say, oh man, I was thinking about folding, but I just didn't. Like they're trying to, I'm again, not saying David does this, but a lot of people just want to make excuses for themselves on the times where they happen to be unlucky and run into a better hand. Because you do lose here sometimes, but this is just like super duper nuts. Can never fold here. Interestingly enough, I think Brandon should actually check behind with stuff like full houses because he has the super nuts. So really, Brandon's only betting here with an ace, a lower flush, maybe king high flush, but like whatever. There's not a lot of those. So no brainer call, easy call.
Well,
call. Okay, yeah, there it is.
Whining call.
He had me thinking for a second there he was going to make some kind of crazy tank fold. I thought, what is going on here? Okay, he's just a little worried maybe he ran into a full house or something. He's got 25% there, and he 8-6, ace or 9, but a deuce no good.
Brandon was sitting there thinking, I thought I had the best hand. All right, what do we have next? Craig Varnell, 8-6, the ace 6. Tongue twister for me for fun. They knew we were making a video today. Heads up against Will. All right. I'll raise it up.
There's Will Berry with an ace 6, and he has raised to 375. Craig with an 8-6 of clubs. He's going to go over the top.
Sure.
With a raise as well. So
we have heads up, no limit charts, completely free for you for 100 big blind stack depth. I realize they're probably shallower here, but check those out. Pokercoaching.com/HUNL. This is certainly an okay hand to get after it every once in a while.
He makes it close to 1.2 with an 8-6.
Yeah, Will has an ace, but it's not a very playable one. Doesn't flop well.
Gotta continue.
And he seems to agree, because he's going to make a 4-bet here. This is an interesting bluff from Will, but I like it very much.
Sure.
What is it?
You may say, why in the world would you possibly call here with the 8-6 suited? Well, he has to put in 1.6 million to win a pot that's going to go up to 6, roughly. So he has to realize, what, 27-ish% equity? And even though 8-6 is not great, even though you're out of position, as stacks start to get relatively shallow, notice pot 6 million. I don't know what these are, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and change. It sucks, but I think you got to continue, especially if your opponent is going to be 4-betting hands like ace-6, ace-5, ace-4, ace-3. Because if you just get like any pair, you're in. Or any draw, of course. Any good draws.
Flop is a queen 8-3.
Check.
Pretty good flop for Craig's hand.
Don't
I
fold.
didn't really expect him to get here, but I don't know how he would get away now.
I think this is a spot where Will should probably just bet small and then fold to a raise. If you do bet small and get called, it's pretty miserable, and maybe you're supposed to triple it off or double it off, however much it is. Brutal spot. Play it like you have the aces. Bet small, I guess. 1.2. The tough thing about that here, though, is that if you think about some of the hands that Craig will have, a lot of those are going to be gut shots, like Jack 10. And if it goes check, check, turn, they're often going to bluff the river, so you're going to have to fold. The ace 6, you're not calling there. So this is a tough spot. Nasty spot given stack depths, I think.
Will Berry's going to come in with this bet here. Close to 1.7. Craig hitting 8s.
Again, depending on stack depth, this is either a call or a shove. Looks like he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If he has 5, it's just you just need to go all in here because you really want to make your opponent fold out any hands with equity, right? Like say you are against King Jack or something like that. Even though you have the best hand, King Jack has a solid 6 outs, and it may bluff you on bad turns. Like say the turn's a ace or a 10, right? You'll end up maybe check folding there. So in that scenario, even though you are going to get called literally every time you're beat, sometimes some worse hands call, like ace king, pocket 4s, ace 3, and you really just want to deny equity. As you get really shallow, poker becomes a lot about denying equity.
How's he going to play it?
Maybe if he has 7, it becomes way dicier because then you're jamming, like you're just risking more money, right? So while you still get your opponent to fold out some better hands, some worse hands, when they do have a better hand, you just lose more money. So if he has 5 here, I think it's pretty easy all in. If he has 7, though, do we min raise? I don't know. I don't know what you're supposed to do if you have 7. 7's a tough spot.
All in.
He's going to play
7.6. Yeah, it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot. If you do min raise, you're obviously not folding because you just have very good equity and you're getting good pot odds. The nice thing about min raise is your opponent will call with a lot of stuff and then have to fold it to a turn shove. I mean, look, this can't be like bad. If you're losing money jamming here, it's minimal, and I think this is perfectly fine given the pot's egregiously big.
Played all in.
I mean, you got to fold this ace 6 here.
This pot got way bigger than I thought it would, but it certainly worked out for Craig. His daring play.
Yes, sir.
That was a big pot. All right, let's take a look at our 2 final cards for the day. We're going to have a beautiful collection of Craig Varnell cards and Ole Schemion cards. All right, last one for the day. This is going to be our rare card. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? Who do you think it's going to be? If you're watching this video, type who you think it's going to be in the comment section. Clearly, it's going to be Ole again. Right? Who else could it be? Ready for the reveal? Drum roll. Mike Sexton! Yes! 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 Where's that book? Here it is. Check out Mike Sexton's book, Life's a Gamble. I love Mike Sexton. Mike Sexton was my mentor to some extent. Look, Mike Sexton was an absolute legend of poker and a visionary, and he did a lot to better the game. And if you all know me, you all know that I try to do that as well. I try to be a good ambassador. The book's called Life's a Gamble. life's a gamble, and it's because he's a poker ambassador, like Mike Sexton, the poker ambassador. I know some people don't like the word of ambassador. Like, are we really trying to be ambassadors to make poker great? To some extent, the answer is yes, right? Poker's a game that can be very, very wonderful or somewhat destructive, depending on how you approach it. And, you know, as long as you're a reasonable human, you can enjoy poker at all ages for any amount of money. And I don't know. I love Mike Sexton. I love Mike Sexton a lot. Miss him dearly. I cried and cried whenever he passed away. Kind of a interesting thing. I don't cry very often when people pass away because I realize, look, it happens. But I love Mike Sexton. All right, let's take a look at this moment. What do we have?
Mike with 5 big blinds. That's really it.
I'm all in.
Just gonna shove with Jack 10. Call. And Benny with an ace 8.
Mike?
This is from, I think, the WPT Montreal that he won. And if that's the case, at pokercoaching.com/premium, in the, I think it's in the courses section, Mike got on a live webinar with me, and we went through all of the key hands from this final table. So if you're a Poker Coaching Premium member, do yourself a big favor right now and go watch that. Also, if you like Mike Sexton, on youtube.com, as soon as you are finished with this video, as soon as you're finished here, search Jonathan Little Mike Sexton. I bet it'll come right up. I did a video with him where me and him sat down in the Bahamas and discussed errors we have made once we came into money. It's an important topic. No one wants to talk about it, but I did with Mike Sexton. And look, I've made a lot of errors. He's made a lot of errors. And we go through a lot of those mistakes we made so that with any luck, some small number of you out there will not make the same mistake. So check that out.
Needs to improve in order to keep this heads-up match continuing.
Have to draw it again, Vince.
Mike here, about 3 million.
I can't watch.
Benny, about 16 million.
They're in
Vince
Canada.
cannot watch. The intensity too high.
It's the last time I'm going to have to draw out in this tournament. I'm not going to ask any more.
From a strategy point of view, of course. Good shove, Jack 10. Good call, Ace 8.
Come on, Mike.
I gotta know.
Yeah, he's got it.
There's a 10.
He caught
All right, 2 more cards to fade.
10. I was gonna sweat the turn in the river. Turn card, safe for Mike. 3 of spades. Mike in front, looking good, but there is one card that Benny could take down his title with.
Benny can find an ace on this river. He will be our champion.
Here it comes. What's it gonna be? 9 of clubs. That's good for Mike.
Mike Sexton going to double up here. Back around 6.5 million.
It's not good whenever the whole poker world is rooting against you in that scenario if you are Mike's opponent. Just one more example of how Mike was a great poker ambassador. I remember at Montreal, I believe it was this exact tournament. I was there. I asked him to make a few videos with me for Little Poker Advice, where I'd ask people for poker advice. He gave a few. But one morning, like I often do at live poker tournament series, I had a breakfast lined up for poker coaching members. Usually, we'll all show up about an hour or two before the tournament. I'll buy everybody breakfast. You'll all make friends. We'll talk about poker. We'll go play the poker tournament. I told Mike Sexton about it because we would drive home together every night. Well, drive back to the hotel every night. And he said, yeah, maybe I'll come. Sure enough, 10:30 a.m., the day before, like day 2 of the main event, Mike strolls in and has breakfast with all the poker coaching members there, including Louis Philippe. If you all are a poker coaching member, you know Louis Philippe. He runs the study sessions. Louis Philippe was there. He can attest to this. And that was, I don't know, it just solidified him as one of the greats in my mind. For forever. I mean, I already knew that, but just like shows that he cares. He cares about poker, cares about bettering the game, and he did about as perfect of a job as he can. You all are getting me all sentimental here. All right, that's going to be it for today. Can't think of a better way to end today's video than that, by getting the rare Mike Sexton NFT. Huge thanks to Thetadrop for letting us do this. If you enjoyed this, check out Thetadrop. They have a lot of very, very fun cards, fun moments for you to collect. Follow them on Twitter. Thanks to WPT for making all these memories. That's fantastic. If you like this video, do me a favor, click the like button, click subscribe button, click the notification bell. Good luck in your games. Have a great week. happy I got this Mike Sexton card. Try to better the world. You know, at the end of the day, if you do good work and add value, you can be very happy with yourself. I'll talk to you all next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and as a thank you, I'm going to channel all of my poker knowledge into your brain right now. Oh wait, that didn't work. Sorry, you're gonna have to keep studying. Go ahead and click the subscribe button right here, and I'll see you in the next video.